Ladies and gentlemen, please imagine the following situation. You're a worker in a textile factory in a poor region of Africa. With your hard work, you make just enough money to feed your family. You feel blessed because this is much more than most of your countrymen have. But one day, the company you're working for has to shut down. The competition has just become too strong and is flooding the market with cheap textiles. You are without a job and without money. The competitor, which has just destroyed your existence, is called foreign aid. Foreign aid is a very complex issue. When I started my research for this speech, I was actually surprised how difficult the subject is. I would like to start by giving you some background information about how much money foreign aid costs us and why we donate to other nations in the first place. More importantly, I would like to tell you what is wrong with foreign aid and what we can do about it. First of all, how much does foreign aid cost us? By far not as much as you might think. According to the internet page globalissues.org, most first world countries, including the United States, United Kingdom, France, Germany, do not even contribute as much as 0.7% of their gross national income. According to the Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development, OECD, the United States gave 0.2% of their GNI last year, ranking below Portugal and New Zealand. This is still a lot of money, but it doesn't cost us an arm and leg. But why would we want to spend money on foreign aid in the first place? The obvious reason is to aid the poor and feed the hungry. But according to Oxfam America, it also serves other purposes as well. For example, to increase national security. Aid helps reduce poverty and injustice that can destabilize whole regions. People who don't see a future for themselves are easily recruited by terrorist groups. Also, it serves our economic interests. Foreign aid can help the development of the receiving country's economy and opens up markets for US products. So, what's wrong with foreign aid? Well, one issue is that we give it to the wrong countries. You would think that the poorest countries get the most money, but in reality, those countries that are politically important get the most. Again, according to the OECD, the top receivers of US development aid in 2009 were Iraq, Afghanistan and Egypt. These countries are not as rich as we are, but their citizens are far from dying from hunger either. Iraq received $3.2 billion, Afghanistan $1.8 billion. Compare this with what really poor countries like Uganda get, $327 million, about 10% of what Iraq gets. Another issue is that the money is used inefficiently. Here's a bad example reported by Oxfam America. In a village in the Afghanistan Central Highlands, villagers needed timber for their roofs. A non-government organization in Geneva charged 20% of the budgeted money for administrative costs and subcontracted to an NGO in Washington DC, which took another 20%, and in turn subcontracted to an Afghan NGO, which took another 20%. Then they paid a trucking company in Iran to transport the timber to the village. But it turned out to be too heavy for the little huts and had to be burned as firewood. Foreign aid can actually even be harmful, as shown in the example I gave in the introduction. It was reported by the economic expert James Shikwati from Kenya. In an interview in the German magazine Der Spiegel, he explained how donated corn will eventually destroy the economy and cause a famine. When the corn is delivered, a portion goes directly into the hands of ruthless politicians who then pass it on to their own tribe to boost their next election campaign. Another portion of the shipment is dumped on the black markets and where it is sold at very low prices. The local farmers are put out of business. The next famine is already pre-programmed because there are no farmers left when the corn has run out. In conclusion, it can be said that we as nations are not as generous as we think we are. Also, foreign aid is much more than just altruism. It serves our political and economic interests. On the other hand, foreign aid is suffering from inefficiencies, corruption, bureaucracy, and politics. So, what can we do about it? If we are really serious about helping the poor of the world, we should do three things. First, give the money to those nations that really need it. Second, reduce inefficiencies. We don't actually need so many NGOs, and we have to be careful how they do business. The fact that they are a non-governmental organization doesn't make them efficient or means that they don't want to make a profit. Also, we have to identify those NGOs that know what the poor people really need. We need to listen to the locals and find out, and we need to involve them in the projects. Instead of doing something for them, we need to do something together. Third, we must make sure that whatever aid we offer does not make matters worse. It is irresponsible to provide aid that does nothing else than cause more harm in the long term. Again, we can't do that without the help of the locals. Personally, I feel that there's a moral obligation to give to the hungry and the poor. That's why I don't mind that my taxes are partly spent on foreign aid. But after preparing the speech, I also think that there's a moral obligation to change the way the money is spent. I hope that after this speech you feel the same way too.